Coaches, welcome to this edition of the Basic B-Ball podcast. Today, our guest is Coach Scott Garson from Santa Clara University. Coach, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me up.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking some time this morning and talking some hoops. Coach, was just hoping you could go through your kind of background and where you've been and what you've been doing for your career so far.
Yeah, sure. No problem. I'm born and raised in Southern California, and I was a good high school player, but I wasn't a Division I level player, wasn't a Division I level athlete. So I played ball at Washington University in St. Louis, which is a Division III. Ended up transferring, ending my career, but transferring and graduating from UC Santa Barbara, and really got into coaching my junior and senior year in college when I wasn't playing anymore. I really missed it. And was working with still a great friend of mine named Jeff Lavender, who at the time was the head coach at Santa Barbara High School. And we had a number of really good players, but he built a tremendous program there, and really enjoyed working with him and kind of recognized that was a real passion for me. Was coaching and working with young people. And so I really got into college coaching immediately out of graduation. When I graduated and finished my undergrad at Santa Barbara, I immediately started working camps, summer camps and all that stuff, and really begged my way on to volunteer at Pepperdine for a year, back when Lorenzo Romar's first stint at Pepperdine. This was his third year at Pepperdine of his first stint. His top assistant was Randy Bennett, along with Ken Ammon, who's the head coach at Concordia in Irvine and has been extremely successful, and a guy named Darwin Cook, who at the time was the all-time leading assist guy in New Jersey Nets history. So we had a really amazing staff, an amazing group of people for me to learn from, between Coach Romar and obviously Coach Bennett and Coach Ammon and a number of others. So, again, it really fed my juices for coaching and learning and working with young people. And I went from there to the University of Utah, where I was a graduate assistant under Rick Majerus. I got my master's in sports psychology, got my PhD in basketball because he was an absolute genius, just one of the greatest to ever walk the sideline from an X and O standpoint. Brilliant. Every day was a clinic. And I actually spent 5 years there. So after getting my master's, I became the video coordinator, and eventually I was an assistant coach there at Utah. And after my time at Utah, Ben Howland hired me at UCLA. And I spent 9 years at UCLA. Coach Howland was there for 10. I was there for his last 9, and we had great success, went to 3 Final Fours, and just a great run. And again, another great player development coach, and another great player development program. So very fortunate to work for coaches like that as a young coach in this business and learn different ways to do things really, really well. And then I was a head coach for 5 years at the College of Idaho, which is an NAI program, non-Division I. As good a program as there is in the country now at the NAI level. We had to really rebuild it. It was really down when I got there. Built it into a powerhouse. Went to a Final Four my last year. Had teams ranked in the top 5, as high as 2 in the country. And my assistant coach now, Colby Blaine, is now the head coach there, and he's since won a national championship. Done a great job. He'd be a great guy for you to have on this podcast, by the way. Just a tremendous, tremendous coach. And just had a great 5 years there, but really wanted to get back to Division I, and the opportunity opened up when Herb Sendek had an opening on his staff here at Santa Clara 6 years ago, a little over 6 years ago. And so I took that opportunity, and here we are going into year 7 at Santa Clara.
No, that's awesome, man. It's cool to hear all the places you've been, and then just the success you've had, and then the coaches you've worked under, man. That's a pretty impressive list of the guys you've been able to work with, work under, and learn from is pretty awesome. One thing I think that's kind of unique about that journey too is you're going from assistant coach for a long time, super successful head coach, by the way, as you said, building up a program at College of Idaho, and then coming back to be an assistant coach. Different level, obviously, and things like that, but just kind of curious on your transition for that, because that's definitely different responsibilities. If you're in the top seat with a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibilities, and a lot of success, and then coming back as an assistant, and I still have a lot of responsibilities, what you're doing, and plenty of pressure, I'm sure, as well. But just kind of curious on how that transition's been, kind of back and forth between those two roles, especially doing it on your own terms, not being forced to do it.
No, it's definitely, it is a transition. It's different. There's there's nothing like being a head coach when it comes to controlling your time, deciding when the meetings are going to be, deciding what time practice is going to start, um, having the final say so, whether it's with something that you're going to do on the court or something in recruiting, or working with the administrators. I mean, that's the best to me. I love that, working with the donors. I enjoy the fundraising aspect, which is a big part of being a head coach, especially nowadays with even at the Division I level with NIL and everything like that. So I really enjoy that aspect. But at the same time, when you step over as assistant coach role, you do sleep better at night, because everything swims upstream to the head coach, and everybody's got something going on, and every issue becomes your issue. Every problem becomes your problem. And so one thing I think that it really helped me transitioning back, excuse me, to being an assistant coach after being a head coach was a better recognition of understanding what to bother the head coach with and what to leave him alone about and just take care of, and not waste his time, because I have a tremendous respect for how much is on Coach Sendek's plate. And I don't think, not for any reason that, other than just never having been a head coach. If you've never been a head coach and you're an assistant, you just don't quite grasp how much is coming to the head coach, how many text messages every day are coming from donors, from different administrators. Everybody is pulling at you. Everybody wants us the SID, and the marketing department, and everybody needs something. And the ability to delegate and manage your time is really important as a head coach, and to have assistant coaches that don't bog you down with stuff that is unimportant to you is really, really important as well. So I think I've been a better assistant because of my time as a head coach than I was beforehand.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I think understanding of being in that front seat of, now all the, I think the great thing you said, all the text messages you get, like as a head coach. Whether kids or whatever, like at the high school level, parents, of just like everything you guys get. Hopefully no text parents for you guys.
Sure.
One of the other things kind of on that is I been to a couple of your guys' practice is seeing how much autonomy you guys have as assistant coaches, though. You guys as assistants, your top 3 assistants, you guys run a lot of stuff, man. You guys are running a lot of drills. You guys are making a lot of decisions in practice and in games. And just kind of hoping you could speak on that of kind of what your responsibilities are and some of the things in practice and games that you're taking care of.
And I'll tell you, I think that's something I've really learned from Coach Sendek, because he does a great job of that. You can see all the assistant coaches that had worked for him in the past that are now Division I head coaches. And I think that's a big part of it, is he tries to hire good people, and then he tries to allow us to coach. And we all feel like we are head coaches in our own little areas that we work with. And for me, over the last few years, we've kind of changed how we do things a little bit. And so I'm now our offensive coordinator, I guess you would say. I'm in charge of everything that we do offensively in practice and in games, what drills we're going to run. Obviously, Coach Sendek's going to be involved in all that stuff, but those are my responsibilities. And so, like, even when we're getting into the season, I'm scouting the other team's defense and deciding what may or may not work for us offensively. Coach Sendek has gone as far as he's gotten more comfortable with this, allowing me to call plays during the games as well. He can obviously override things, but I'll literally be up there and, making the decisions on what we're going to run next or what we're going to do next offensively. Have the ability to grab the board in timeouts and draw things up. And it's helped that I've been a head coach, obviously, but I think Coach Sendek's really good about that with all of his assistants. And so, those are the responsibilities. I'm working with our offense. I also work with our bigs in terms of skill development, our front court players, our 4s, and especially our 5s. In terms of their skill development, and so those are my responsibilities on the court. And off the court, we are all recruiting. I mean, myself, Ryan Madry, Jason Ludwig. We actually now, with the new rules, what were our video and ops spot are now assistant coaching roles as well. In Will Burkett and Jackson Guion, they're actually allowed to get much more involved in the recruiting as well, and even go off campus from time to time in place of us.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I'm sure that's helpful for you guys of having 2 more valuable guys that are able to step on the floor and then obviously help you guys with all the recruiting and get out there, and so much going on with that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of want to, so you guys offensively, man, have been top 4 in scoring the last 4 years and have kind of really, I think, rejuvenated Santa Clara's program, especially being from the Bay Area, of just kind of definitely had been some down years, and just it feels like you guys are competing for a conference title every year. It feels like the last 4 years it's been you guys are somewhere in the mix in the top four in standings, and it just feels like you guys are right on the bump of winning, being somewhere special. And can you just kind of speak on that, what you guys have grown culturally? Because something you had mentioned is you guys are one of the only teams that brought back or didn't have anybody transfer out. So kind of just your culture and what's been so special about that as you guys have kind of been growing.
Yeah, it really has been special, and our culture is really special, and it all starts at the top. You know, Coach Sendek's done a great job of leading in that area. I think what we've done is we've brought in. I think Santa Clara, even before we got here, and everything that I've learned about it, has always had great people in the program. The young men that have chosen to come to school here, I mean, they just don't fit at a place like Santa Clara if they're not kind of about the right things. And I'm talking about off the court. You know, we've always had good people, but the difference now is we not only have good kids, but we have young people that are totally committed to being better players. I mean, there's not a guy on our roster that doesn't have a goal and dream of being an NBA player and working at it. I mean, we have total gym rats across the board. Our guys are wearing our graduate assistants and managers out to get in the gym for more time. They've given the facilities to us now with the new $40 million practice facility that we have here, where our guys have access 24/7 to our practice gym. They have the ability to get in the gym and work. And so we have a culture of guys that care about basketball and school are their top priorities, and everything else takes second to those things. And so our guys get better every day. And I think they allow us to push them because guys come here, they see the resume of Coach Sendek and the assistant coaching staff that we have here and the job we've done in player development at various places we've been long before we were at Santa Clara, as well as what's happened here when you look at Jalen Williams, Brandon Pajemski, even Adama Ball, who's all over the NBA radar now, and different guys that are coming in here and having opportunities to become professional players. And they realize that, that's what this program's about. This program's about getting better. And so they're allowing us to push them and really push the needle and move the needle. And I mean, we are working so hard right now in the summertime. It's amazing how hard we're pushing our guys during our 8 weeks in the summer. And many programs you go to, and they're just getting shots up. They're nothing that's anything wrong with that, but they're getting a lot of shots up, and we get a lot of shots up too. But it's at an intensity that is, almost mind blowing, more so than anywhere I've been. We get 4 hours a week for 8 weeks on the court. So it allows us to really push our guys. And with the quarter system, the way we are, we try to get our conditioning going here in the summertime too, because this summer really leads right into our season. When we come back for the fall, we're getting after it right away. And so we've really moved the needle forward in that aspect. We got guys that want to get better. We've done a good job of evaluation, I think. Coach Sendek has certain things. He loves guys that can shoot. He really doesn't want to coach guys that can't shoot unless maybe they're at the 5 spot or they're really, really unique. We like size at every position. There's always an exception. Carlos Stewart is an exceptional point guard. He's not particularly big for that position, but he's a first-team All-League player for a reason. He's a great player. So maybe he supersedes that. But generally speaking, our guards and our wings are 6'4", 6'7", 6'6". Our starting 4-man right now is a 6'10" player, in Johnny O'Neal, who's really a guard. So we like big guards, and I think that's helped us. Our skill level has really helped us. We really shoot the ball well, and we play a style of play, whether it's a make or a miss. Like, we want the ball across half court in 3 seconds or less. So we are playing with great pace. We don't call a lot of plays. We'll call plays maybe on a free throw or a dead ball, but unless there's a specific situation coming up late game, we're not calling plays. We want our guys to run. We want to flow. We tend to shoot the ball on average in less than 15 seconds with less than 15 seconds on the shot clock. And not because we're burping up bad shots, but because that's the pace we play at it. If we have a good shot early, we want to take those shots, and those are shots we work on. And it's just a fun way to play, and it's a fun way to recruit too. I mean, I think it helps us in recruiting dramatically. I mean, when we're going up against another school and they look at our style of play and their style of play, I mean, our guys can see that this is a much more fun way to play, and it translates professionally too. So I think that's really helped. For example, Jalen Williams and Brandon Pajemski, part of the reason, along with their talent, that they were able to be first team all rookie in their first year is the transition was really easy in terms of the style of play that we play here at Santa Clara and transitioning into the NBA. And they both talked about that. I'm not throwing that out there to pat ourselves on the back there. Both their organizations and they themselves have made mention of that, both publicly and privately, about what what a great help that's been to them.
Yeah, no, I love watching you guys play, man, and the pace you guys go at. And you guys also have great sets too, man. Like I remember watching practice one time and you guys were just like running through sets and I was like, holy crap. Like I don't think I saw like half of them ran, by the way, but it was like you guys had so many good actions. But like you said, you guys really focus on your pace and getting good shots early. How do you guys work on that in practice? What does that look like for you guys to really hammer that into guys that you want to push pace and find those early shots and find good shots early also?
Yeah. Well, first of all, philosophically, just generally speaking, I would say about 70% of our practice happens in the full court. So even when we're doing stuff 5-on-0, a lot of times we're doing it in the full court or we're doing it with great pace. So we'll every day, though, there's not a day that goes by that we don't work on our fast break, different aspects of our fast break, 5-on-0. So we'll go up and down. We call it sixes. I like to call it sixes, where we'll go up and down the court 3 different times. We'll get 6 shots. We'll be giving our guys things that we want them to do. And we are talking about getting the ball out quickly, deep outlets, running the floor, getting wide, running the wings. If we have a rim runner, we want him running hard to the rim, and we are upping the ball. We really, really try. We are maniacal about not dribbling the ball up across half court. If there's a player, even if he's just 6 feet ahead of me in transition in the backcourt, we want to throw the ball ahead. We want to get rid of it. We want guys to get rid of the ball. So that's why, like, our 1, 2, and 3, I don't know who our point guard is, because at the end of the day, if you're the quote unquote point guard, well, in our system, your job is to get it and give it up to the next guy in front of you and get out, cut a corner, and get into offense and start playing. So like we really try, and I think that's been really good for our pace, is the way we not only get it out quickly and get deep outlets, but the way we up the ball, up the sideline, or across what coach calls across the street, meaning playing across the floor to the opposite sideline. I think that's really good. It puts a lot of pressure on the defense. When one of our bigs is out front and he's rim running, I think that puts a lot of pressure on the rim as well. And then the fact that we always have 4 and sometimes 5 guys that can shoot the ball, transition basketball is great, because not only can you find good open threes that you don't have to waste your time running a set to get, but also offensive rebounding is a premium in transition basketball. The defense is not in position to block out. They're not in position. They're not all matched up with their man. And so it's amazing how many offensive rebounds we come down with. And we were the leading offensive rebounding team in our conference last year. And we have great size. This year, we'll be one of the 10, if not one of the 5 biggest teams in the country on average height. And that'll certainly help us rebounding wise. But I think our transition game really helps us with our offensive rebounding as well. And we get a lot of putbacks, or a lot of what we call daggers, which is an offensive rebound kick out for a 3. We call those dagger 3s, and we work on those every day. We do that. We do that out of transition. We even do it in our half court. So like when we're working on our sets, a lot of times we'll run into them. We'll run into them with great pace. We don't want to, like, even if it's a dead ball, we don't want to walk the ball up the floor. If you ever see us walking the ball up the floor, unless it's literally holding the ball for the last shot of the half or the last shot of the game, that's a mistake on our end. And we just don't want to see that. And so our guys get used to playing at that pace. And, one thing that we need to improve on dramatically this year is taking care of the ball better. And I think that'll be helped just organically by the fact that we have so many returning players. We had to replace 5 starters last year. And so playing at that pace and guys not being as used to playing with each other, I think created some issues that way, turnover wise. But I think that'll be improved this year. And players want to play that way. So other teams, you see coaches getting frustrated because they're maybe not used to playing that way, and their team wants to. And so they got to slow their team up, and they're trying to slow the game down against us and make it more of a half court game. And, some teams are more successful at doing that than others. And that's where you got to be, capable of executing in the half court as well, down the stretch of games.
Yeah, definitely. So important as you guys push, but yeah, definitely at the end of games, slowing things down and having to execute a little bit. But what is some of the things you guys input? I know you'd mentioned it of really doing a lot of like 5-on-0 and stuff like that, pushing pace. Do you guys have rules of what you're doing in the half court? What are you telling guys of having to get the ball out of their hands? Are you telling them literally if a guy's open on the sideline, it's out of your hands? Or do you guys track stuff like that? How many pass aheads you have and things like that?
Well, yeah, we don't necessarily track how many pass aheads. We're looking for that on every single possession. So, I mean, that's something. If we ever don't do that, that's going to be pointed out in the film session. And when we up it in transition, so for example, if you're a 1-2 or a 3, or even in some cases a 4-man in our system, if you get the defensive rebound, you're pushing it yourself. So our 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s all have to be able to run the wing. They all have to be able to bring it in transition. When we up it, we want to cut opposite corner or ball side corner. We can cut to either corner. So now that person that has rebounded it and upped it, or in the case of a made basket, the point guard who's received the outlet, because we only want the point guard to receive the outlet on a made basket, so everybody else is out running. When we up it, you now are sprinting towards one of either corner, and you're now getting into offense, into what we call flow. And then we use our bigs, our 4s and our 5s, as connectors in our offense a lot. They're connecting one side of the offense to the other, or maybe playing back to the same side. So let's just say, imagine, our 2-man rebounds it and he ups it to our 3-man down the wing, and he cuts a corner, and our 4-man is trailing right now, and we hit the 4. Now the 4 has all kinds of options. Obviously, if he's got a shot, great. A drive, great. He can play back to the same side. He can play the opposite side. And now you get into a much faster paced version of what people think about when they think about Princeton offense. You have opportunities to backdoor fill, opportunities to split, opportunities to come get the ball, what we call a get. You can just come get it from the 4-man, or if it's the 5-man trailing, come get it from him. He can keep it and play with the next guy. So there's just a multitude of options, and we're just playing. So we're teaching our guys how to play out of that those scenarios in practice, but none of that stuff is calls. So when you watch our team on film, you see guys splitting for each other with the ball at the top of the key. You see guys, you may see the ball move, and you may see a step-up screen from the baseline, or all of a sudden you see the ball get to the top of the key and you see a guy backdoor and the next guy fills up. None of that stuff is calls. It's our guys playing, reading, and truly reading and reacting to the defense. So it's a much faster-paced version, but so many of these principles come from things that have been done a long time. I mean, Pete Carrill was doing this stuff at Princeton forever. The difference was he was coming up, running false motion, running the clock down, and trying to shorten the game because of their lack of athleticism. For us, we feel like we have good enough players. We want to play with pace.
No, that's really cool. Just the different stuff you guys have within your offense. And is that something you guys, especially like when you get the ball at the big up top, whether it's the 4 or 5, is that stuff you guys have designated reads of certain certain defenses of you guys are really teaching these reads and whatever it is 3-on-3, 4-on-4 games? Yep. Is that stuff you have like a lot of freedom to those guys, and kind of what does that look like for you guys planning for that?
We'll do, like, just for example, today in our afternoon practice, we'll have a segment of 3-on-3 before we play 5-on-5, working on a very specific aspect of a scenario that comes up. And every day we'll go through different parts of our offense, different scenarios that may come up. Hey, today we're going to work on hitting a big up top and playing split and playing out of that. Today we're going to work on playing out a backdoor fill, or playing out of what we call a keep combo, or today we're going to play 3-on-3 and it's your choice, but we're going to have the ball at the top and we're going to play what we call a pair side. So we're working on all these different pair side actions, pair side being a player at the wing and a player in the corner, and then there's a ball up top. So whenever we have 2 players on a side, on the wing and the corner, that's what we call a pair side. And those pair side actions are things that we work on all the time. And there's so many different things you can do from there. Something we don't do as much of, but you can flare out of the corner for the wing. You can, you can backdoor fill out of our system. We can split. We can fake it and just come to the ball. The first guy can come to the ball, and if he doesn't get it, the second guy's coming with pace. And then there's different reads there. If you come to the ball and your man's guarding you tight, and the big can't give it to you, you may, cut and banana cut to the basket. You may sprint out opposite, but it's all reading, reacting to what the defense is doing, and so we're breaking those things down, both in 3-on-3 and in 4-on-4 all the time. And then that translates to our 5-on-5 game. Obviously, once we get to 5-on-5, and, when we're in 5-on-5, we try not to stop it too much because of the way we want to play. We try to give them the freedom and let them play, essentially. And every so often when there's a dead ball or after a few possessions, we may stop in practice and say, hey, I know you did this, but you got to recognize this read and, and see these other options for you, if that makes sense.
No,
And it's kind of like coaching motion. I mean, honestly, like when I was at Utah, we had 4-man motion. Rick Majerus was the best in the country, running 4 out, 1 in motion. This was a lot of screening away from the ball, not as much screening on the ball. This is essentially, teaching motion, but it's with ball screens and handoffs and gets and combos and that type stuff.
No, I love it, man. I love just the freedom you guys give your guys to make plays, and you have so many guys that can do it. So many guys that can score the ball. So many guys that are dynamic. Like you said, you got O'Neal at your starting 4, who's like truly a guard, man. That's what you say is your 4. I'm like, I guess he's a 4, but dynamic.
And really, I mean, honestly, the only reason to name those positions is for plays. I mean, like an out of bounds play, where are you going to go, or who's a guy guarding, I mean, he probably guards the 4-man most often, but yeah, I mean, you can kind of flip a coin in terms of 1 through 4 on our team as to who's what. Yeah,
absolutely. No, that's why you guys are so fun to watch, man. Is just that right there. Coach, last thing I got for you here is I'm going to give you a quick 30-second timeout. So I'm going to give you an end of game situation for you to draw something up and then hear what you got. So you ready for that?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Okay, so your end of game situation I have here for you is down 2 with 6 seconds left on a sideline out of bounds. So down 2, 6 seconds, sideline out of bounds.
Yeah, so we had one we actually ran that I really like. We actually scored, if you go back and look, versus Washington State last year at the end of the first half. Similar scenario. I don't remember how much time was on the clock. Actually, it may have been less time, but in this scenario, we're down 2, so we want to go right away. We're not looking to shoot at the buzzer because we want to give ourselves a chance for an offensive rebound as well, and we'd like to get something going to the basket because we know they don't want to foul us. And so down 2, the scenario I like to set up, we'd have our 3-man take it out. We'd put our 5-man on the ball side elbow and our 4-man on the weak side elbow and our 2-man on the weak side block. And then we'll take our point guard and we'll stick them up at the half court line. And so, sorry, I've got some paper in front of me, just, looking kind of like that.
Perfect.
And so what's going to happen is our 4 and our 5 are going to screen for our 2 and bring him to the corner. And again, I'll just give you a little diagram. They're going to double screen and bring him to the corner. And we're going to be reading right now. The inbounder's reading what the point guard's man is doing. If the point guard's man is playing way off of him, the ball is going to end up entered to the point. But if the point guard's man is playing closer to him, then what's going to happen after this is the 4 is going to space out. The 3 is going to end up in the corner. The 4 is going to end up in the corner. And the 5-man is coming back to the ball. Okay. And so we are either going to enter the ball to the 5-man, and you'll see that's what happened in our Washington State game. We entered the ball to the 5-man because they were pressed up on our point guard. We entered the ball to the 5-man, and then our point guard just cuts to the basket right off of him. He's looking for an opportunity to hand it to him, going full speed at the rim, going absolutely full speed at the rim. The 3-man's just stepping in right away, and as an opportunity. Obviously, if he can't give it to the 1-man for any reason whatsoever, he can throw it right to the 3, and we can play with a quick pick and roll opportunity. But if the point guard is not being guarded, if his man is playing back, we're going to throw it to the point, and it's going to become an immediate middle flat screen for the point guard going downhill. So imagine for us, that's Carlos Stewart or Adama Ball at half court, and they're coming downhill with Carlos Stewart in his case, with unbelievable athleticism, or with Adama Ball with great size and ability and shot making ability around the basket. And, we've got them going to the rim and going to the rim hard. And really that play can be run with 2-3 seconds. And so in a situation like in a scenario that you set up, that's going to allow us to hopefully get a shot up on the rim. And if it doesn't go in, still have an opportunity for an offensive rebound. The 5-man's in a great position to follow. So when he catches it and gives it to the point guard going downhill, he is following right to the rim too. And if the point misses it, he's crashing and rebounding. You've got our 4 and our 2 set up in the corners. So those are wide open 3-point shooters. For any reason they suck in, our point guard can spray it and we'll have an opportunity to get a 3 to win it.
No, I love it. Keeping in rhythm with you guys going at high pace, man. Getting your point guard going with a full head of steam. Appreciate you sharing that, Coach.
Sure.
Well, I appreciate you coming on this morning and taking some time. Thank you for sharing everything you got to share. And that's pretty much it, Coach. Appreciate you.
No, I really appreciate you having me on. And, thanks for taking the time to talk some hoops. It was good.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Have a good one.
You got it. All right. Take care.